over at BangTheBook.com. We are your one-stop shop for sports betting news and information. Lots of great stuff being put together over there by a very strong group of writers. Situational betting tips across 4 different sports betting markets, college football and NFL power ratings. We got daily college basketball stuff, daily NBA stuff, Parker Michaels' NHL picks, plenty of things going on over at the website. Make sure you head on over there and check it all out. As you know, this and every edition of Bang the Book Radio, presented by our friends over at DSI Sportsbook. BTB, the number 200, is that promo code. 100% deposit match bonus for the sportsbook, 100% deposit match bonus for the live casino at BetDSI. It's only a game until you bet it. One quick note here, obviously next Thursday is the Thanksgiving holiday. Not exactly sure what the plans are going to be for the tail end of the week. I know people will be traveling. People will be doing a lot of different things. I would presume nothing changes Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Maybe I wind up moving Brad Powers to a different day. We may end up just recording on the morning of Thanksgiving too. Not really extensive travel for me, not going out of town. The last couple of years have been in Vegas. This year, not going to do that. But I'll try to update you as I know what our plans are for the Thanksgiving holiday. Should be able to put up the Friday show because I'm just recording the segment by myself. I've been in communication with Brent trying to figure out what we can do differently with both of our schedules to try and get a segment out for next week. So hopefully it will be status quo. Hopefully business as usual. And then obviously we'll worry about the Christmas holiday when we get to that, where that's on Wednesday. So probably at least going to miss that day's show, but we'll see what happens throughout the rest of the holiday season here. All right, in any event, it is Week 12, Westgate SuperContest selection segment for Week 12. 2-3 last week in the SuperContest, now 27-1 on the season. The other entry went 3-2, our BangTheBook.com entry, now 28-25-2. That 0-5 that I took in Week 9, still looming very large with my Bang the Book podcast entry. Obviously very frustrating to wind up with one of those, but hopefully get back on the right track here this week. 38.5 points is what paces the Super Contest right now. Tuco is the leader with that. 33.5 points is the cutoff for the money. So 4 points behind for the BangTheBook.com entry. How would that be? It'd be 6 points behind for mine. So obviously looks like making the money a little bit of a long shot for us here, but still bragging rights on the line, still pride on the line, still going to keep going through the card every single week with you here on the show. And every Saturday over at BangTheBook.com, you can see the updated pick counts, the lines, the consensus, all that type of thing for the Super Contest. Speaking of the Super Contest last week, 54.43%, third highest win rate of the season. It was a big weekend for the public sides, as we saw most of the sportsbook directors talking about on Monday and Tuesday. Now 48.99% for the season. The consensus last week went 6-8. So the most selected side in each game came in at 6-8. The top 5 consensus, 4-1 last week. Finally a good week for that. 66, 89, and 4 overall for the consensus. 26, 27, and 2 for the 5 most selected sides of each week here through 11 weeks of the Super Contest. Over in the Super Contest Gold, 54.41% last week. Now 49.85% for the season. So it's been a struggle in both the Super Contest Gold and the traditional Super Contest here for the 2019 NFL season. My entry went 3-2 in the Circa Million. I swapped the Dolphins for the Saints, picked up a winner there on that one. So also 27-1 over there. And again, the 0-5 a few weeks ago, looming very large with that record. Last week in the Circa Million, 55.64% win rate, the third best of the season over there as well. 49.79%, the overall success rate for this season in the inaugural Circa Million. As you know, I like to go through the line differences here in the Super Contest as well as the Circa Million. We've got one on Thursday Night Football, which will be completed by the time you hear this segment. Texans are -4 in the Super Contest, -3.5 over in the Circa Million. The Falcons are -4.5 in the Super Contest, -4 in the Circa as they host the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Eagles are -2 in the Super Contest, -1.5 in the Circa. They host the Seattle Seahawks. And the Baltimore Ravens are -3 in the Super Contest, -3.5 over in the Circa Million for their road game against the Los Angeles Rams on Monday Night Football. So some important line differences here this week. Going from 4 to 3.5 is significant. Going from 4.5 to 4 is significant. And of course, going off of 3 to 3.5, very much significant there in the Circa Million with that. So been updating you on those line differences over the course of the year. They can and will have a big impact on what the consensus numbers look like for some of those games out there. So as we dig into week 12 of the Super Contest, I've got 4 games that are very likely picks and then 3 leans with which I'll be probably taking my 5th play. Again, recording this on Thursday evening or so, Thursday late afternoon, I guess I would say. So things can and will change with the injury reports and stuff like that. So again, these are very likely picks to make my Super Contest card. Usually I will never play the other side of a game unless there's some sort of significant quarterback injury or something like that. But for now, here are the 4 very likely picks and a trio of leans for you for week 12. And we start here with the Cincinnati Bengals. They are number 8 in the Super Contest rotation order. They are plus 6.5 here this week. And I think I have to do it. I think I have to make this play. It is not an attractive play by any means, but Mason Rudolph is terrible. I mean, everything that happened at the tail end of that Browns game last week really overshadowed just how bad Mason Rudolph played in that game. Now, in fairness to him, the Browns were headhunting in that game. Juju Smith-Schuster goes out with a concussion. Deontay Johnson goes out with a concussion. So there weren't a whole lot of options for Mason Rudolph. James Conner's been banged up week in and week out. But it doesn't look like Smith-Schuster or Johnson are going to play this week. Marquise Pouncey also suspended now from the fallout of that whole Myles Garrett, Mason Rudolph thing. So you've really got to wonder here, what does Mason Rudolph have to work with on offense? And yes, the Bengals are not good. They are not good at all. Everybody knows that. Everybody's fully aware of that. But Mason Rudolph not suspended is a win for the Bengals because he's terrible. And quite frankly, Devlin Hodges may be a better option than Mason Rudolph. But right now, the Steelers appear committed to using Mason Rudolph. The Bengals, now, of course, obviously, they play a role in this too by being 0-10. But according to Pro Football Reference, the Bengals have played the hardest schedule in the NFL using PFR's simple rating system. So, yes, the Bengals are 0-10, but they've also played a pretty difficult schedule. They played Baltimore twice, for example. They've played several very good teams here over the course of the season. And Pittsburgh is not that. Pittsburgh is a middle-of-the-road type of team. Yeah, they're still, in the playoff hunt to a degree, but at least this is a little bit of a step down for Cincinnati. Certainly a step down at quarterback with Mason Rudolph. And you've got a Steelers team here that plays the Browns next week. And the Steelers, again, they're on the fringes of the playoff chase in the AFC, but I don't really think anybody views the Steelers as a legitimate playoff contender. Maybe they do within that own locker room, but you've got to think with the rivalry rekindled here between the Browns and the Steelers, and on the Browns side, it never died. The fans have always been involved in that rivalry, have always hated the Steelers, but the Steelers dominated that rivalry to such a degree that Baltimore became a much bigger rival for Pittsburgh than the Browns had been over the last several seasons. Well, now, with this Myles Garrett thing, with the trash talk between the two teams, with how things went last year, this is a rivalry again between Cleveland and Pittsburgh. And you've got to think at least some part of the Steelers looking ahead to that game next week, that rematch against Cleveland. So, ugly, low-scoring game. Steelers do not have a lot of weapons for Rudolph, who is not good anyway. The Bengals plus 6.5 makes some sense here. And again, obviously, this appears to be a play against the Steelers for me. It's hard to find reasons to support the Bengals. Again, they have played a very difficult schedule, but Ryan Finley has struggled in his first 2 starts. A.J. Green's still not practicing. So I get it. There aren't many reasons to like the Bengals, but this is a fade of the Steelers, who I don't think are very good, and I certainly think this offense is quite atrocious with the injuries and suspensions that they're currently dealing with, and with Mason Rudolph playing quarterback. So Bengals plus 6.5, very likely to make my card here for this week in the Super Contest. Next up is number 17, the Detroit Lions. They're a 3.5-point favorite against the Washington Redskins. And once again, this is more of a play against a team as opposed to a play on a team. I'm fading the Redskins here. I wish I would have did it last week with the Jets like so many other people did. Dwayne Haskins, it's not there right now for him. And again, he's a guy working with a shortage of weapons. Washington's been very dependent on the tight end position for the last several years. They don't have a working tight end. The running game is okay, but it's very hard to generate explosive plays in the running game. And it just doesn't seem like the team believes much in Dwayne Haskins. Everyone's seen that video clip that was on Twitter of Haskins saying, what do I have to do for you guys with the offensive line? And they just kind of look perturbed. They just kind of look pissed off at him for having the audacity to talk to them like that. And, Jay Gruden's not there anymore, but Jay Gruden, it seemed like there was a disconnect there with taking Haskins. Anyway, I still think Jay Gruden is a pretty smart offensive mind, despite the returns here for the Redskins. He didn't like Haskins before he got fired. I certainly trust in him more than I would trust in Bill Callahan on his evaluations of players. Look, Jeff Driscoll's been okay for the Lions in the 2 games that he's played. I know it'd be better if they had Matt Stafford, but also if they had Matt Stafford, the Lions would be laying more than a touchdown in this particular game. This is a must-win game for Detroit. I know that they've lost 6 of their last 7, but in the games that they've lost, they've played Kansas City, Green Bay, Minnesota, Oakland, Chicago, and Dallas. Those are 6 pretty damn good teams. Several of those teams are going to make the playoffs here this year, and Oakland is a surprise wildcard contender. So I don't hold that against the Lions at all. They've played a very, very difficult schedule, to say the least, and that Chicago game, they were still in that and had a chance to win it, even though that was their first game without Stafford. And in fact, the rumors came out that he might not play on Saturday, then he's officially ruled out Sunday morning. So that was a real difficult spot for the Lions there. Yeah, the defense has struggled. The defense has had problems of late. But again, they've played some very, very good offenses. Chicago accepted. Dallas, a good offense. Oakland's been very good with John Gruden. Minnesota's been much better of late with Kirk Cousins playing a little bit better and good usage of Dalvin Cook. Green Bay's got Aaron Rodgers. Kansas City's got Patrick Mahomes. Who the hell do the Redskins have on offense? Nobody. They have nobody. The Redskins are not a good team. This is a get-right type of game for the Detroit Lions. Dwayne Haskins has been sacked in over 15% of his dropbacks. The running game is not great, like I mentioned. Everybody's going to be on this play. Everyone's going to take Detroit. Everyone's going to fade Dwayne Haskins. That's fine. Again, I've talked about this before in the SuperContest. There are some game theory elements that come into play if you're in a position to do that. Right now, I'm not. I'm just trying to accumulate winners, just trying to have a good record for my own sake. So I don't mind being with the consensus if it's a side that I like, and this is a side that I like here, with the Lions, -3.5, number 17 in the SuperContest rotation order. Next up on the board here, number 22, the Dallas Cowboys. They are +6.5 against the New England Patriots. And look, I guess I just can't stop. I guess I just can't stop fading the Patriots here. And at least this one seems to make the most sense. This seems like if you're going to go against the Patriots, this is the right type of place to do it. The only downside that I really see to this game is Jason Garrett against Bill Belichick. And it could be the deciding factor. It very much could be. Belichick is vastly superior to Jason Garrett. And against a weak schedule here, the Cowboys plus 1.5 yards per play differential in terms of yards per play on offense and yards per play allowed on defense. The Patriots, against a similarly weak schedule, plus 0.8 yards per play. You can run on the Patriots. We know that. They've given up 4.6 yards per carry on the year. Nick Chubb ran against them. Other guys have done that. Other guys have run against them well. And mobile quarterbacks can give the Patriots some fits. Obviously, we saw Lamar Jackson do very well. Josh Allen was fairly mobile in that game against Buffalo in week 4. Dak Prescott moves well enough. He moves well enough to at least evade the pass rush, buy himself some time, give his wide receivers some chance to find soft spots in the defense. Ezekiel Elliott should be poised for a big game here. Dallas's wide receivers pretty healthy. Amari Cooper full go in practice on Wednesday. Michael Gallup's been healthy. And the Patriots, okay, fine. Their defense is very good. We'll give them credit for that. But this offense, very middle of the road. And they're being asked to get margin here against a very, very good, very efficient Dallas Cowboys offense. The Dallas Cowboys offense first in the NFL in third down success rate, and they have the third best success rate on defense in third down situations. The Patriots are 17th on offense. Yeah, they're first and third down defense against, but again, they've played a very weak slate of offenses. They have not played very good teams. So yes, this defense is very good, but this is a week where they can most definitely get tested. And I will say this. Last week I talked about the Eagles, and it did kind of fly under the radar for me that they had a lot of injuries at the skill positions and and on the offensive line. They're coming off of a bye. I assumed wrongly that they were pretty healthy, certainly as healthy as they had been, at any other time this season. That wound up not being the case. This week, I did my due diligence. I made sure that Dallas is healthy, that they have all their working pieces and parts at the skill positions and on the offensive line. And look, again, this is a situation where you're asking New England with a middle-of-the-road offense to create margin. And if they've got a good game plan, and if they shut down Dak, and they shut down Zeke, and they shut down Kellen Moore, it is what it is. But I think Dallas's defense is a little bit underappreciated because of the weak schedule of teams that they've played. I think they're better than they're given credit for. And this offense has been very, very good. So give me Dallas here, plus 6.5 against New England. Going to fade the Patriots again. It hasn't worked out well for me this season, but I think there's more method to the madness here this week than we've seen in some of the other games going against New England. Finally, here for my very likely picks category, number 24, the Green Bay Packers are plus 3.5 on Sunday Night Football against the San Francisco 49ers. Aaron Rodgers back in California. This is a game he'll be up for. Friends and family will be there. This is a game that, he really wants to show well in. I think he has the opportunity to do that. There is a big strength of schedule mismatch in this game. Again, using the strength of schedule metrics over at Pro Football Reference, where they use their simple rating system, the 49ers have played the 15th ranked schedule in the NFC this season. The Packers have played the 4th ranked schedule in the NFC. The Packers have the better offense. The defense has been fine for them. The defense has been, they've given up 6 yards per play. They haven't been great, but they've been, good enough. I mean, yeah, this is a team with an 8-2 record and a negative yards per play differential. So I understand why some people want to go against them. I just don't think that this is the spot to do it. The Packers are off of a bye. San Francisco had their bye in week 4. You have to wonder if this San Francisco team, in particular, this San Francisco defense, is starting to get a little bit gassed. 4 straight opponents have run for 130-plus yards against them. The Robert Saleh defense has played very, very well, but rushing ends, they've added some Fangio concepts. These are all things that Aaron Rodgers is used to seeing facing the Chicago Bears, facing teams like the Minnesota Vikings. He's played well against very good defenses. And the 49ers here, they've come out on the right side of a couple of games against the Cardinals recently. Obviously, last week's game was much closer than the final score. They lost that game to the Seahawks that they probably should have lost in regulation. There are questions about both of these teams here, the Packers and the 49ers, but Green Bay has the better offense, has played the better schedule. That offense is a lot more battle-tested. The 49ers offense is not great. And furthermore, if you need Jimmy Garoppolo, what are you going to get from him? And I think in this particular situation, in a primetime game against a highly motivated Aaron Rodgers, against a solid Packers team, you're probably going to need Jimmy Garoppolo this week more than you have in a lot of your other games. And how does that play out for the 49ers? Quite frankly, I'd be worried about it. I know they've added some skill position talent at wide receiver, Emmanuel Sanders, Deebo Samuel, but I still have questions about Garoppolo. And if Garoppolo goes out there and he leads this team to a cover and a victory, it is what it is. But I've got to take the better offense here, the team that's played a better schedule in the Green Bay Packers. So number 24, the Green Bay Packers, plus 3.5, wraps up my very likely picks here. So those very likely picks are the Bengals, number 8 in the SuperContest rotation order, plus 6.5. Number 17, the Lions, minus 3.5. Cowboys, number 22, plus 6.5. Number 24, the Green Bay Packers, plus 3.5. And again, won't go on the opposite side of any of those teams, but there's a chance that they don't make my card depending on injury reports and any of the other stuff that could come up before I have to have my Super Contest plays in Saturday morning at 10 a.m. to the proxy. So, again, very likely to make the card, may not, but with 7 teams being discussed here on the show, does seem like all 5 of my plays are going to come from this group of 7 teams here. So we move on to the leans. And the first lean here, and again, these go by Super Contest rotation order. They're not by strength of opinion. Number 6, the Denver Broncos are +4 against the Buffalo Bills. The Bills have played an awful schedule. You know it, I know it, they know it. And the Broncos here, look, they're not a great team. I understand that. But they are still on the positive side in yards per play differential on the season. Should they have beaten Minnesota last week? Yes. Could that have a hangover effect? It could. But I think it's more for the Broncos about, hey, we went and played really well. We went and played a very good game there up against a very solid Vikings team. I think it's more of a spark than a letdown for Denver. They're not a playoff team anyway. But it gives them a little bit of confidence going forward, gives them a little bit of confidence in Brandon Allen going forward. And this defense is solid. You know, it's been overshadowed by the listlessness of the offense. But, you know, they haven't forced a lot of turnovers. That hasn't helped. They haven't made it easy on the offense. But they're top 10 in yards per play. They're middle of the pack against the pass and adjusted net yards per pass attempt. But they're facing Josh Allen. They're not facing a top-tier NFL quarterback here. They're top 10 in run defense. The Bills are in the bottom half of the league at stopping the run. And here's something else, too. The Broncos are second in red zone touchdown defense. The Bills are third in red zone touchdown offense, but they've played a very weak schedule, as I already talked about. So I think there are some compelling reasons to like the Broncos here this week. I'm a little bit concerned that, you know, Vic Fangio had the extra time to prep for Minnesota, a team where he knows the personnel very well. Maybe that's why the Broncos shined so much in last week's game. Could be a possibility, but I haven't come away impressed with the Bills in most of their games. Not so much impressed last week beating Miami, even though I wound up taking the Dolphins here in the Super Contest. I just think the Bills are not that good of a team. They're a little bit of a paper tiger. And again, they played that very poor schedule. The Broncos are a solid enough team to go up there and give Buffalo a game. So Denver +4 on my short list of leans here for this week. Next up on the board, number 13, the New Orleans Saints. They are a 9.5-point favorite against the Carolina Panthers. The Saints were good to me last week. Maybe we'll do it again here this week. The Panthers are in major regression mode. I think the bye week really stunted their progress. I think they possibly tried to do a little bit too much with Kyle Allen, maybe try to work in too much of the playbook. You know, last week for Carolina, probably their best defensive showing in several weeks, and they still almost gave up 300 pass yards to Matt Ryan in that game. And look, Christian McCaffrey's getting his. He's getting his yards. He's getting his receptions. He's getting his touches. But there's no supporting cast for this Carolina team. There just isn't. The Saints offense did look a little bit sluggish last week. They were +4 in turnover margin thanks to Jameis Winston. The defense played well without Marcus Lattimore. They probably won't have Lattimore again. But the Panthers can't really attack them vertically. And again, I think the Panthers they're in regression mode. You know, they're just not improving. In fact, they're getting worse week after week. And with Kyle Allen, you wouldn't expect that to necessarily be the case. You would think that guy getting some more reps under his belt would start to do a little bit better, but he's not. The defense is really struggling for Carolina. New Orleans' defense is playing great. I think offensively, with Breeze in his third game back, they should look a little bit more efficient on that side of the ball. So the Saints, -9.5, number 13 in the Super Contest rotation order, the second of my list of leans here. Again, going by rotation number, not by strength of opinion. Then finally, number 28, the Los Angeles Rams. Now, they are +3 in the Super Contest and +3.5 in the Circa Million. So there is a good chance I take them in the Circa Million, getting that hook above the key number. The 3 may not be good enough here in the Super Contest, but something about this Rams team is pretty appealing. Brandon Cooks and Robert Woods coming back. Ravens, a long trip west after a couple of prove-it-home games against the Patriots and the Texans. Of course, in between, they went on the road, blew out the Cincinnati Bengals. But you got Jared Goff getting points at home, a rare home underdog role for Sean McVay, and this Rams defense has been outstanding on the season. They're second in yards per carry allowed. They're 10th in adjusted net yards per pass attempt. They're third in yards per play allowed. They've got decent corners to the point where they can actually spy Lamar Jackson a little bit. I really like the linebacker group for the Rams. I think Corey Littleton, one of the most underrated players in the NFL. He's very, very good. It's a contrarian home dog on Monday Night Football. Again, I don't know if they make the Super Contest card at -3, but I think at 3.5 in the Circa Million, there's a pretty good chance that if I go with the 4 very likely picks, this will be my 5th pick in the Circa Million. Maybe not so much in the Super Contest as I just said, but in the Circa Million with 3.5, I get something you do want to take a look at. And again, could be a lower scoring game. You know, the Rams defense playing well, Baltimore's defense playing well, some extra time to prepare for both of these teams. Lower scoring game, 3.5 certainly looks a hell of a lot better than 3. So Rams, number 28 in the Super Contest rotation order, they are +3. But again, +3.5 over in the Circa Million. So the very likely picks for me, once again, Bengals +6.5, Lions -3.5, Cowboys +6.5, Packers +3.5. And then the leans for me this week, Broncos +4, Saints -9.5. And then finally the Rams +3, again, +3.5 there in the Circa Million. Now, again, I will say this. I did really like my Super Contest card last week. I was very excited about it in doing the segment. Didn't really work out for me. So, you know, I like this week's card, not as much as I like last week's card. But one last thing I'll mention here before we transition over to the odds report is, you know, again, I've talked about this several times over on the show, and it's a very important thing. That crisis of confidence. And at least when it comes to something like the Super Contest, you have to find 5 plays every week. So you got to get out there and keep swinging. You got to keep shooting your shot with at least 5 picks a week. If you are somebody who's having a difficult NFL season or college basketball, whatever the case may be, don't be afraid to take a couple days off or maybe limit your volume of plays a little bit. And in the Super Contest, you don't have a choice. It's 5 and that's it. You have to do it. If you don't have to do that, you know, you're not in a Super Contest like pool or Circa Million like pool or, you know, something like that. You're just betting your personal bankroll. Don't be afraid to take a step back if you've had some difficult weeks here. And that's something that I had to do when it came to the Major League Baseball season, something I've had to do numerous times throughout my handicapping career. You're going to have those lulls. You're going to have those ruts. You're going to have those times where you just walk into a game and you ask yourself, how is this going to go wrong? What is going to go wrong to make this game lose? You're going to have that. So if you are somebody struggling this year, you're not alone. You're not the only one. It's happened to a lot of professional handicappers, a lot of novice handicappers, a lot of supplementers, a lot of everybody that's involved in this business. So you are having some difficulties. Don't be afraid to take a step back and reevaluate. For me, it's been an up and down NFL season, obviously, with that 500 record, the Super Contest, but keep trying to bring you good information week after week, and hopefully the picks will be following suit here, especially with this Week 12 card.